All right, welcome back. In the previous video, we assembled skirt short to leg, and then the other skirt short to leg, and then we also assembled the long skirt to one assembly and one long skirt to the other assembly. We did not attach this. This is actually still not attached. This is just a dry fit. We put the bar clamps on, these clamps on, just so we could take some measurements. If we take these clamps off, this would fall right off. If you're new to joining the YouTube playlist here, be aware that my project is a little different than yours. I made it a little narrower. All the same pieces, all the same procedure, all the same steps. The length is still exactly the same. The height of the project is still exactly the same. I'm making my own project. I kind of got a special place I want to tuck it. It needs to be a little narrow. So just keep following along with the dimensions on your sheet. And like I said, follow along with us as far as how the assembly goes and the steps and the process. None of that has changed. So still the same exact project, just a little narrower. Okay, so in this video, we are going to measure, cut, and potentially install a sheet of plywood into these dados here. Okay, what you're going to need are, when you assemble, you're going to need some bar clamps. For measuring and cutting here, we're going to need our tape measure and a pencil. So first thing is to measure, first thing is to get your project together in a dry fit like this. Make sure all of the, everything's flat, come together nice. Obviously this side's already assembled, so that is what it's going to be. But then again, try to get this side accurate so we can get some accurate measurements. Okay, now in a perfect world, in a CAD model, this should be 37. Looks like that's pretty good. Pretty darn close. And in a CAD model for yours, it should be 19. Okay, so again, mine's a little narrower, so I was expecting 13. Pretty darn close. Expecting 13, pretty darn close. So that's good. So you should definitely check yours and make any adjustments if necessary. If we try to put too big of a piece in and we have to stretch these to get it to fit, we could end up cracking something down here. We'd put a lot of stress on those joints. This is a big lever. If we try to push that apart, that's a lot of leverage to snap something down there. So you definitely want to cut it accurately. So anyway, let's take our pencil and we're going to make our first cut this way. So again, we're going to make our first one at 37. Okay. And like I said, yours will probably be the same. Now, I have a partial sheet here. It looks like somebody already made a couple of bottoms out of it. You may have to grab a full sheet. If not, just get somebody to help you load it in there. And like I said, but if there's any partials available, like here's a partial walnut, use that one first, if you could. Now, all the plywood is going to have an A side and a B side, so a pretty side and a not so pretty side. And you're going to want to put the not so pretty side, the B side, facing you. So, this one has a little bit of imperfections in it, and I didn't like it. So, my other side, my A side, probably can't tell too well from the camera angle, but this side turned out a lot prettier. Okay, the reason why we do that is because the saw cuts this way. So if we look inside there, you can see the saw blade, and those teeth are going to cut into this veneer on this side really nice, cutting into the board. But when it exits the veneer, you can see it can potentially leave a really rough edge. So I definitely want to keep my pretty side pretty, and I want to make sure I put the pretty side facing, up towards the glass. I guess it's going to be pretty side down because we're still working upside down over there, but you get the idea. So we're going to make the ugly side extra ugly, and we're going to keep the pretty side pretty, and we'll make sure we have the right end facing up. Okay, so we're going to need 37. So you're going to do this with a tape measure. Looks like we're going to have to pull this short one way out. Okay, do it near the top edge. 37. Okay. Then you're going to get down here. Not sure if my camera angle will do this justice or not, but we'll try. And then I'm going to bring down the blade. right onto my pencil mark. Hopefully you can see that. Sorry if I'm not getting it. But, you know, there's a guard over there to the left, and so you're trying to line up the table saw blade, or the panel saw blade. Okay, so for running the saw, it's pretty simple. You just pull this trigger up and you bring it down. The one problem we do get sometimes is the wire getting caught. So I'm gonna make sure that's off to the side, and then I'm gonna lift this up with my thumb and then just bring it all the way down through the cut. You can see that rough edge is coming in. So yep, leave it down until it comes to a stop. And a board that you can't use for any other project. It's too narrow. It's gonna go over there. Let's see how we did. 37. Nice. Okay. Now we can take a look at that pretty side again. Now I got a choice to make. Now you're gonna make yours 19 wide. I'm gonna make mine 13. So I'm kind of just, is there anywhere on this pretty board I want to avoid, or do I want to make sure I get? That side looks pretty nice. So let's do that. Now let's get my 13, your potential 19. Measured up here. Again, this is not your dimension. That's okay. If you had a small enough board, you could go to the table saw, you know, move that, obviously tip the blade back up, move that over, but with a big clunky board like this, the panel saw is kind of nice, but whoops. So let's bring that down. Obviously the panel saw is really nice for handling this large board, but let's say you make your board a little too big. You know, you kind of erred on the side of caution over there with the measuring, and it's just not fitting the way you want it to. At that point, that board would be small enough to handle to just bring it over to the table saw. But for the table saw, you put the pretty side up because the saw blade comes from underneath the table and actually cuts on the downstroke. So you got to understand your saw blade, which way it's spinning when you're making these. When you're working with plywood. Nice. Okay, so again, this B side is gonna definitely have some burrs to deal with, or some splintering I should say, but not a big deal. I might just take a quick pass with the sander. Hopefully I've mentioned this in class, but sanding plywood's never a good idea because you can see how thin that veneer is until you start having that filler junk material. But this is just, this at the B side, no one's gonna see it. I'm just getting rid of those burrs so this comes together nicer. Okay, so we'll do a dry fit quick. Gonna work. Now if it's a snug fit, that's good. You want it to be snug, but I don't know how much you want to commit to the test because you got to get it apart to still get glue in it. But you know, to me, I seem I feel pretty confident that this is going to work out. So let's, before we get stuck, because it's too good of a fit potentially, let's get some glue. Dangerous business. Okay, let's get some glue inside the dados. Maybe this one first, I suppose. Easier. Set that down. Okay. That's a lot of glue. Okay, well, let's see. If you got any excess glue, you definitely want to clean it up while it's wet. So we might be showing you how to do that here in a little bit. So it's coming together good. We're getting into all the dados. So that came together really well, actually. I'm gonna get a damp paper towel. So dry one first for the big stuff. Yeah, having some damp paper towels on hand while you're gluing is always a good idea. I'm gonna need, okay, I got my 2-bar. Okay, I got all the clamps I need. So, first, we're gonna make sure those stay in place because we're gonna put some clamping pressure here, and if this is sticking out and then that ends up clamping and doing this because that shoots past, so having these bottom skirts in place will actually give us some structural rigidity. Now, when I tighten this, I'm bringing that dado snug, and I'm bringing this dado snug, so that's good. I did put it low. Ideally you'd want to put it right there, but that's how I'm going to be attaching it in that place, so I gotta miss that by a little bit. So again, I'm pulling that dado in. There, you saw glue come out. That's a good sign for a good tight glue joint. I'm gonna do the same thing here. Again, I want to make sure, I guess maybe I can work from up here. So now this one, I mean, ideally I'd love to see how that pulls that in tight. Ideally I'd love to put the clamp there, but I gotta be able to attach it. So maybe I can get away with it there. So I'm a little nervous about putting it up here because then it's gonna do this, but then again, it's attached down there. I already have those screws in, so as long as I don't wreck those screws. Just doesn't seem to be pulling it. So I'm looking right there at that dado. Okay, I think we're okay there. I can still get a nail gun in there. By the way, if I haven't mentioned that yet, that's how we're putting this together with a nail gun. Let's see. So again, I'm pulling this one. But I gotta get a nail gun in there. Let's try this one higher then, I guess. Don't want to go too crazy because again, I'm putting the twisting pressure. This is like the fulcrum point on a teeter-totter. But that seems. Check all my clamps. Make sure they're all pulled tight. Okay. Then we go back to our air nailer from we made our legs. Got nails. Good there. So now I'm aiming for the plywood, but I got to go through the leg to get there. I'd love to be shooting straight. I'm kind of shooting at an angle now, but this clamp's definitely not in the perfect place. Can I tighten that a little? There we go. Okay, so aiming for the plywood, through the dado, through the leg, through the dado, into the plywood, nothing but net. Okay, here we go. God, I am just batting zero with these clamps, aren't I? That one's a lot easier. Looks nice and tight, that's good. Okay, so now having a nail going in each direction, this plywood's not going to slide this way because of that nail. Plywood's not going to slide this way because of this nail. So we're good to go. We can take those clamps off. Okay, now just the top one, these orange ones, because we're not done yet. We still got work to do down here. If you haven't noticed, this is definitely the biggest day of assembly. Make sure you got the time to do all this. Damp paper towel for the win. Okay, so now, just like when we assembled on the other one, on the other side, get that Kreg clamp. Want to make sure that Kreg clamp's not blocking our Kreg jig holes. Want to make sure that the bottom is flush. Now it comes in handy for that. How's this? I want to cheat a little bit here. I think that could come down just a touch. Might have to loosen this actually to get that to come down. There, flush. Clamp it. Make it permanent. There we go. There, I'm happy with that. Looks nice and clean. Couple more Kreg jig screws. Sorry if you can't see. Nothing you haven't already done half a dozen times or more. Okay. And like I said, I always like using that manual screwdriver at the end just to know what I'm really got. That side's done. Try not to scrape a bunch of that glue off, putting that back. Now, push down, push this down. Try to get that bottom flush, but make sure you don't block your Kreg jig holes. Clamp that. Okay, I gotta check my finger into there. It's pretty flush. Nice. Okay. Might just have to put this up here. That'll still pull the bottom in tight. Everything else being assembled. Would like to have had it down below, but it looks like my Kreg clamp's in the way. But with everything else being assembled, it's still pulling that tight. Is it? See a little bit of an air gap there. Actually, I wonder if we can, now that everything else is put together, we actually kind of have some options now. We can flip some stuff around. Just, moral of the story here, I guess, is just, you know, seeing what you got. And making sure you know how it's gonna look when it's done. There we go, look at that. So, just adapt. There, that pulled that together a lot tighter. Touch high. I wonder if I can. Whoops. Apparently the answer was yes, I could move it. Okay. Let me teach you another thing. This is nice having it upside down, because then you could use the table as a level. So now with a board, you're not just whacking this and it coming down. So there. You have to watch this video, you get a bonus lesson. Okay. Together tight. Okay. Done. Okay. So, a little bit of excess glue. So much easier to clean when it's damp. Got some gunk there I'll have to sand off. But look around it now. Any excess glue on anything, a lot easier to clean up when it's wet than after it dries. Make sure you don't get any glue on the plywood. Again, we can't sand the plywood to get the glue off. So that's it. Okay. If there's any wobble, again, I'm not worried at all at this point because A, I don't trust this table at all. B, we will take the wobble out of it later, like we did with the step stool and the keepsake box. So we'll see how it all comes together. We still got a top to attach and trim to attach, but it's getting there. All right, see you in the next video.